TEMU and Shine orders will now carry higher taxes from next month. According to the Business Times, SARS has committed to taxing all clothing parcels with an import duty of 45% plus VAT. That's from the 1st of July. Let's unpack this further. We're joined now by the Executive Director of the National Clothing Retail Federation of South Africa, Michael Lawrence. Great to have you on the program. I'm sure this is a development you're happy about?
Michelle, yes, we're ecstatic. It's been a while now, and we have had these concerns about small parcels and their low duties and tax for a while. So we're delighted that we're operating on a level playing field, at least in the tax environment.
Yeah, so the likes of TEMU and Shine, they've obviously been huge disruptors in the sector. What kind of knocks would you and your members have been taking over the past, say, year and a half, 2 years?
Well, they've developed a whole different business model, which they've used internationally, and we've seen evidence of this in particularly in the USA and the EU. And so we've certainly seen them burning into market share. And we don't mind competition, but what we just wanted to be very clear on was that we're all operating on a level playing field. Mm-hmm. So we have felt some pinch.
Yeah. And this level playing field, is this the form that you hoped it would take with this increase in or the higher taxes that are coming in next month?
Well, it's a very good start. The question remains as to the modalities of monitoring and enforcement that SARS now have to put in place. Looking after these huge numbers of small parcels is a challenge. It's already difficult for them to monitor containers. So we've offered to see where we could assist in support without having any special privileges in respect of the monitoring and enforcement process. If there are new systems that need to be assisted with, we're quite happy to assist. We're also very worried about consumer protection, and we think that it's going to be quite important now for consumers to get the kind of protection we offer under the Consumer Protection Act, and make sure that the purchasing is a fair and transparent process, as it should be for consumers and suppliers of goods.
Yeah. I mean, arguably, Michael, the introduction of Shine and TEMU has been a boost for consumers in a way who are unable to afford the local market in terms of clothing and various other products that are sold on these platforms. So it's been great for the consumer, right, to have this option of having cheaper, more affordable, but sort of same quality, similar quality kinds of clothing, and just having more options in the market. How do your members, how are they able to compete with TEMU and Shine? Is it just an impossible thing for you to do, to compete with a shirt that's, say, 150 Rand versus a shirt in South Africa, if you want to buy local Isleka, for 500 Rand?
I think we're merging two different conversations. So the question of how much local do we want to support is a very different question, and there are different purchasing modalities that affect how we market what is local. The fact of the matter is South African retail has been a mix of local and imported products for some time now, for some 30, 40 years, and it's become quite aggressive of late. So we certainly are quite comfortable that we have options for the consumer that make the consumer more interested in CTFL, clothing, textile, footwear, leather products. From wherever in the world, we have great clothing retailers locally. They are well supported by international investment funds even. And we're quite comfortable that we can continue to offer South African consumers good value for money for both local and imported products.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a different conversation because so much of our clothing is imported versus having the conversation around supporting the local market, buying South Africa. Is it more difficult to compete with these kinds of platforms like TEMU when we're talking about buying local?
I think local products are going to struggle with those models. But it's a matter of informing the consumer about what their purchasing choices are. And we certainly have found with the master plan that we've been developing in conjunction with government and the trade unions, and it's been led by retail. We've certainly found that those retailers participating have increased local sourcing from some 30-odd% to the mid 40% already. So we know there are good marketing and consumer satisfaction models that can still be achieved. The offshore online retailers from the East that we're seeing now that you've spoken about, they're just a different dynamic, and it's just important, Michelle, that we all play off the same level playing field, especially as you said at the introduction with respect to duties and taxes.
Yeah, absolutely. Does it also make it harder, Michael, for local retailers or local entrepreneurs who want to get into the retail space? Does it make it incredibly hard for them to break into that space?
It's always been hard to get into retail. It's hard to get into business sometimes. We've seen, we certainly don't have anywhere near enough SMMEs in this country, and especially not in retail. And certainly we are quite happy as the Federation of South African retailers. We're very happy to see new players emerging all the times. And there are different things we try and do even to assist and facilitate with that. So yes, it is tough. But that's the point of getting into business. You've got to take the hard knocks, and you've got to be brave, and you've got to walk off the edge of the cliff and then work out, are you going to have wings or a parachute?
Yeah, there's scary analogies, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Starting your small business is incredibly hard in our economy. So you've said that this